Hello everyone, once again. In last video, we have discussed the RC phase shift oscillator and Wien-Bridge positive oscillator. Now, today we'll start with Colpit oscillator and then we'll go to Hartley oscillator. Now, the basic difference between RC phase shift Wien-Bridge and Colpit Hartley. RC phase shift and Wien-Bridge oscillators are used to generate frequencies in the order of kilohertz, whereas Colpit and Hartley, these oscillators are used to generate frequency in the order of megahertz. The simple means in Colpit oscillator, this is the circuit. In the left side of in the top and left side, we can see the circuit. Two capacitors and one inductors represent the circuit of Colpit oscillator. Two capacitor and one inductor. So sometimes it is easy to remember that two capacitor means Colpit, two inductors means Hartley, two capacitor means Colpit, and two inductors mean Hartley. So it is the circuit of Colpit oscillator. Now, if we look at the Colpit oscillator, I have already told you that it is used to generate the frequencies in the order of megahertz. If we are talking about megahertz frequency, then we will have to go back to the high frequency model, because whenever we talk about the megahertz range frequency, the high frequency model of BJT always comes in the picture. So what I'll do, first I'll draw the BJT high frequency circuit, and then I'll connect all the resistances and capacitor as well as inductor in that circuit. So you can see this is BJT 1R, C1, C2, C and L. So this is RPi network. This is GMVB. By mistake I forgot to write it here. This is, let me write it here if possible. GMVBE. Sorry for the bad writing because I am writing by hand. This is GMVBE. Now you can see this is RPi, CPi, CMU. These CPi, CMU capacitor we have already seen in high frequency model of BJT. RPi we know, GMVB know. Now look at the C1. C1, where it is C1? C1 is between collector and emitter of the BJT. It is between collector and emitter. So let me go back here. This is C1. It is between collector and emitter. Where is C2? C2 is between collector and base. Collector and base. So I'll come back here. C2, collector, sorry, base and emitter. I was wrong. Let me go back to correct it. C2 is between emitter and base. Okay. So C2 is between base and emitter. And L, inductor, is between collector and base. So inductor is between collector and base and collector. So we have drawn the circuit, and the load resistance, that is R, load resistance, this R, this was parallel to this load resistance was parallel to C1. So here I have drawn R was parallel to C1. Now, since we are talking about megahertz, so megahertz represents omega equals to 10 to the power 6. Since we know CPi and CMU are the inherent capacitor of BJT, in general, the practical values of CPi and CMU are in the range of picofarad, that is 10 to the power minus 12. RPi is in kilo ohm. I can see CPi, C2 and RPi. These three elements are in parallel. CPi, C2 and RPi. RPi provides impedance in the range of kilo ohm. Okay, so RPi means kilo ohm. CPi has impedance, CPi capacitance is 10 to the minus 12. How do we define capacitance, impedance of capacitor? XC, where it is XC I have written here, XC pi. xc pi is equals to 1 upon omega c. Omega is 10 to the power 6. C is 10 to the power minus 12. So 1 upon omega c. So 1 upon 10 to the power minus 6. So it becomes 10 to the power 6. 1 upon omega c. 1 upon, let me write it here. 1 upon omega into c. This is xc, right? Now what is the value of omega? It is 10 to the power 6 into 10 to the power minus 12. So it is 1 upon negative 1 upon 10 to the power minus 6. 1 upon the multiplication of these two will be 1 upon 10 to the power minus 6. Therefore, when we take it upwards, so it becomes xc pi becomes 10 to the power plus 6. So it is in the order of 10 to the power 6, means mega ohm, kilo ohm. When we put mega ohm in parallel with kilo ohm, so our kilo ohm will be the result. So we can neglect c pi. Now we will think of C2. What will be C2? C2 means it is the external capacitor. External capacitor are generally in the range of microfarad. We see in generally the 1 microfarad, tens of microfarad. These type of capacitors are externally used. So we calculate xc2, the capacitance because of C2. Again, it will be calculated as 1 upon omega c. Omega is 10 to the power 6. C2 is 10 to the power minus 6. So the multiplication of this will become 1. So in general, the capacitance provided by C2 will be in the order of ohms. So the impedance. Impedance provided by C pi is in the order of mega ohms. Impedance provided by C2 is in the order of ohms, and impedance provided by R pi is in the order of kilo ohm. So if we have three impedances in parallel, mega, kilo, ohms, so the resultant will be in ohms. So I am neglecting the impedance because of C pi and the impedance because of R pi. And here in the lower half, we can see it is drawn as C2. So this is C2. I have neglected C pi and R pi because the impedance because of these two networks will be negligible compared to the C2. Remember, in parallel, the lowest impedance will be the result in near about. So similarly, if we talk about in the upper half, the inductance, it is the this is the external inductor, it is in the order of millihenry. So inductor in the millihenry, the impedance of inductor is calculated as omega into L in the numerator. Omega into L. Omega is 10 to the power 6, L is 10 to the power minus 3, so it is in the range of kilo ohm. Whereas impedance because of C mu is again mega ohm. So if we are doing a parallel combination of mega ohm and the kilo ohm, the result will be in the kilo ohm. So I am neglecting C mu, the impedance because of C mu with respect to the impedance because of L. So I am putting just L. So therefore I have approximated my circuit in such a way, here only C2 will be there, here L will be there. This is C1, R, GM, VB, all other impedances I have kept. So now I am applying KCL. I am putting KCL at B. First at B. Let me see whether I am putting KCL at B. So at B, this is VB potential, VB into j omega C2 plus VBE. This is VBE because it is parallel to R pi. So VB minus this voltage I am assuming as VC. VC into j omega divided by j omega equals to 0. With this, I can calculate the value of VBE taking LCM here. So minus omega square LC2 plus VB is equals to VC. So VC comes out to be VB times 1 minus omega square LC2. This is the value of VC. Now, I am moving forward. Applying KCL at point C. Applying KCL at point C. At point C, if we talk about, one is this element, R element, one is C1, one is GMVB, and one is this L term. So there will be 4 terms. Let me see. Let me check it. Yes, there are 4 terms. First, because of L, VC minus VB upon j omega L. Then downward current, that is plus GMVB. Then current due to capacitor, VC times j omega C1, and the current due to resistor, that is plus VC by R. Now I'm taking common VC, taking VC common, 1 upon j omega L plus j omega C1 plus 1 by R. Here VB I can write GM minus, remember that this is minus 1 upon j omega L, minus 1 upon j omega L. But I can replace minus 1 by j with plus j. Here the j was in the denominator. I have replaced 1 by j with plus j. So 1 this minus and 1 minus of 1 by j. It changes to plus. So minus here, minus 1 by j is replaced by plus j. So Gm plus j omega L equals to 0. Now putting the value of equation 1 in Vc. So I'm putting the value of equation 1 in Vc. So Vb times 1 minus omega L square Lc2 plus this 1 upon j omega L plus j omega C plus 1 by R plus Vbe Jm plus j omega L, j divided by omega L equals to 0. Now Vbe can be taken common and it will be equated to 0. So final equation will become 1 minus omega square Lc2 minus this 1 by j I am again taking it in the upward direction. So minus j by omega L plus j omega C 1 by R Gm j omega L equals to 0. Again comparing real and imaginary part. First I'll go with the imaginary part. Let me go into the next slide. Comparing imaginary part, 1 minus omega square L2, this is the multiple of this in the multiple of what we call omega C1 minus 1 by omega L plus 1 by omega L equals to 0. Solving this, multiplying this omega C1 minus omega cube L C1 C2, then minus 1 by omega L plus omega C2 plus 1 by omega L. This goes cancelled with this. This equation becomes, so omega square comes out to be C1 plus C2 divided by L C1 C2. Now comparing the real part, 1 minus omega square Lc2 times 1 by R plus Gm equal to 0. Solving this, it becomes 1 minus omega square Lc2 plus Gmr equals to 0. Now putting the value of omega square that was calculated in this direction in this. So it becomes Gmr comes out to be C2 by C1. Gmr is the gain of what we call Colbert oscillator. So Gmr comes out to be C2 by C1, that is the gain. So with this it is completed what we call the Colbert oscillator. Now we will move towards the Hartley. Now Hartley is practically is less used because it requires two inductors and the fabrication of inductors and use of inductors quite bulky. Inductors are generally bulky in size compared to capacitor. So it is practically not much used. So that's why I am not going into the derivation on it. But this, on a similar note, its frequency can be calculated as f equals to 1 upon 2 pi L1 plus L2 times C. However, if two inductors are in nearby area, then they will also keep a mutual inductance. If the value of mutual inductance is given, then we can put plus minus 2m here to calculate the frequency. And similarly, the gain of the Hartley oscillator is calculated as GMR equals to L1 by L2 times A. For a mutual inductance, it can be changes to L1 plus minus M, L2 plus minus M. With this, the part of positive feedback, that is the oscillator, is almost complete. Now, based on this, we have to solve some question. So I recommend to solve the question from the 7th chapter of analog circuits from EQ. In our EQ that is provided by Gate Solution. In analog circuit chapter topic, the 7th chapter consists of the question belongs to positive feedback amplifier. In general, you will see there are many questions related with Colbert oscillator, Wien bridge, RC, Hartley. Majority questions comes from the Colbert and the RC. Sometimes Wien bridge also. Wien bridge is also important. Hartley is generally not that much used because it is not at all practically used because of its bulky size. With this, our topic of positive feedback amplifiers as well as total feedback amplifiers is completed. In the next class, we will try to start with power amplifiers and then we will move towards op-amp. Okay, so before going to the next videos, just make sure you are comfortable with the feedback amplifiers. Try to solve the question of negative feedback amplifier and the positive feedback amplifier. If there are any doubts, we can always discuss on our WhatsApp group. So try to solve this question, and if there's any doubt, we can discuss there. Okay.